Hi, it's Matt here from Go Green Auto. So this is our Hyundai Ioniq Electric. It's a 28 kilowatt hour model and it's a 2017, so it's now 5 years old, but this has done 89,000 miles. So in this video we're going to have a quick look at the high voltage battery health, and we're then going to go out for a drive and have a look whether the range is reduced over that 89,000 miles. Right, let's just jump in. So yes, there is the mileage up there on the dash, 88,940 miles. So I've got the diagnostic scanner plugged into the car. If you don't know, on these, the diagnostic port is down there under a flap. And I'm already connected in, and I can go into the BMS, which is the battery management system, which is the ECU in the battery pack. And then we can look at the live data. So this is all the information that is coming out of the battery. Obviously this information isn't accessible to the driver or user. This is sort of accessible to the workshop mechanic. So yes, we're looking at the state of charge. The battery is currently fully charged. Well, it was charged overnight, but the state of charge of the pack is actually at 94%, and that's because the battery keeps a bit at the top and the bottom that you can't access. So with these cars, they have a 28 kilowatt hour battery that's usable, but the full size of the pack, I can't remember off the top of my head, I'll flash it on the screen. But anyway, it's a few kilowatt hours larger. So what the battery does is keeps a bit at the top and the bottom, something like 5% at the top and 5% at the bottom, something like that, that you can't access. And that's to prolong the life of the battery. So when you charge to 100%, the battery is at about 94 or 95%. And when the car gets to zero, the battery has still got a buffer there remaining at the bottom. So the battery never gets stressed, and that's all about prolonging the life of the pack. So yeah, as I said, the car is fully charged, but the pack is actually at 94%. So it doesn't get too... is stress the right word? It's stress that gets used. Anyway, it doesn't get pushed to its limits. So we can look down here at all the information about the battery pack and all the module temperatures. So at the moment, looking on the dash, it's 5 degrees outside, but the battery pack is 7 degrees because it was obviously charging. And then we can look at the minimum cell voltage, 4.1 volt, and then here somewhere, oh yeah, maximum cell voltage and minimum cell voltage, they're both at 4.1 volts. So it shows that all the cells are balanced and all equal. And then we can go along, and we've got total power usage and current usage of the pack for its lifetime. But anyway, we're going to scroll down. We can then look at the cell voltages of every single cell, and they're all equal, which shows a nice balanced battery. Just shows after nearly 90,000 miles how this battery is still nice and healthy. So we've got 96 cells in here, and they were all exactly the same voltage. And then we've got the temperatures, and they're all the same. Okay, they are 1 degree difference, but there's no decimal point. So 6 degrees there could actually be maybe 6.9, and 7 could be 7.1 or something. And then along here we have got that one there. Battery state of health, it is still at 100% state of health. So I would imagine that is actually 100% of the usable capacity, not the total. But anyway, that's all we're interested in, is usable capacity anyway. So after 5 years and 90,000 miles, it is still measuring at 100%. So I've posted videos like this before, and a lot of people get very upset when I've stated that. I'm just stating what the BMS is reporting. It isn't possible to see any of the measurements on this apart from doing a drive looking at the economy, but there's so many different factors go into this. But anyway, we're going to do exactly that on this video. I've showed you here that the battery is at 99% state of charge on the display, because it is fully charged. Well, I might put it back on the charger before we leave and get that 1% back in there. But the pack is starting at 94% state of charge in total. We've got what's claimed to be 100% of usable capacity, state of health of that usable capacity there, and we're going to start off at 88,940 miles. So we're going to go out in this today and do a drive, and I'll keep the camera with me and we'll record how many miles we do, what our driving economy is, and then just give you some idea of how the pack performs, or how the car performs, should I say. But we are in winter here, so we're going to have the heating on, and it is a horrible, wet and windy day outside. So in terms of driving economy, our economy is going to be at its worst in this today, because it is cold and it is windy and the roads are wet. But with the Ioniq, they are a very efficient EV. So, you know, even though it's going to be worst case driving, poorest economy, you know, I'm expecting we'll probably still get 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour out of this car. But anyway, I haven't driven this car actually for many months. My partner has this car now. This used to be my car for some time, but we've switched around and now she drives it. So it'll be the first time I've driven this car for probably 4 or 5 months actually. Right, we're driving on the A34 at the moment, doing 60, have been doing 65, and so far the average economy is 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. We have got the heating on, we've had to because the car wasn't preconditioned, and yeah, I'll update you later. So we're back now. We've been driving for 3 hours 50 minutes, also a couple of stops, went to a few shops, so probably an hour and a half or so on that as well. Well, it's 5 o'clock now and we left at 12, so we've been out 5 hours, what feels like driving all the time. The average has been 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. I don't think you can see that, can you, because it's so dark. The battery is just dropped down into the red, and we've got a predicted 17 miles left. And it's done 103 miles. So I'm going to put the car back in the workshop. We'll put it on charge overnight. I'm also going to connect the scanner quickly and have a look at the state of charge now, so we can measure how much energy we've used, and look at what's been put in overnight, and then I'll do some maths in the morning, and from that can judge the state of the battery. I would just add, it's been very wet today. It's horrible weather this morning. It's 5 degrees C now. It's been 6 or 7 degrees most of the day. We've had the heating on all day at 20.5 degrees C. We've had our seat heat warmers on, and until mid-afternoon it's been very wet with loads of water on the road. So typical sort of winter driving in the UK, and very much real world driving with the heater on all the time, and still achieved 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour, and that's sort of typical with these. You get a good mile to mile and a half, a good 1 to 1.5 miles more per kilowatt hour in an Ioniq than you would with other EVs. So that's it for now. I'll come back to you in the morning after we've charged overnight. Right, so I've just plugged the scanner back in before I put the car back on charge. So the state of charge of the battery is currently at 16%, and I think right down the bottom we've got display state of charge 15.5%, and the battery modules in the pack are all at 14 or 15 degrees C. One is at 13, but yeah, and the voltage is all at 3.46. So that'll do for now. I'll come back to this tomorrow. Right, so here we are, following morning, Sunday morning now, and the car has been on charge overnight on the Wallbox Pulsar Plus there. So looking at the phone app, we can see, oh, hang on, when it's connected, and get the camera in focus there, we can see 25.71 kilowatt hours of energy was put in the pack overnight. So let's just disconnect it, put that away, and I'll jump in and we'll go through some of the stats. Right, so if I just start the car up now, in a minute we'll have the predicted range. So we've got a range of 120 miles. Let me just turn that heating off and put my heated seat on. So okay, turn the heating off there. 120 with the heating on, 126 with the heating off. Yesterday averaged 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So yeah, let me just go through some stats. What I'll do for first is just reverse it out in the daylight. So actually, thinking about it, I just need to correct that figure of what the charger put in, because actually looking at the phone now, the vehicle preconditioned earlier on this morning. So I did look at the phone in the early hours, well, not, very early this morning, before it had done that, and did take a snapshot which I'll put up on the screen. So the vehicle actually put in 24.65 kilowatt hours of energy to bring it back to 100%. So I'm going to have to use the display on the dash and verifying that with the scanner to look at the battery state of charge for the driving yesterday, because anyone using the car is going to be using the dash, so that's what we've got to go on. So we started at 99% state of charge, and when we finished doing our 4 hours driving yesterday, we were at 15.5% state of charge. So that means we used 83.5% of the battery pack, and then we put 24.65 kilowatt hours into the pack overnight. So looking at a whole pack, if you multiply that back out to get to a full 100%, that means 29.52 kilowatt hours for a full pack. And this has got a 28 kilowatt hour usable pack. So there are some losses when you're charging, because the car switches on and the charging circuitry obviously consumes some energy. But what that shows is we're still getting 28 kilowatt hours of energy into this pack. And it's just confirming that the battery degradation, even after 90,000 miles, just hasn't affected the usable capacity of this pack, and we're still getting exactly the same range now after 5 years and 90,000 miles as this car did when it was new. Oh, and I'll just confirm the battery on this. This is a 28 kilowatt hour pack, but it actually has a 30.5 kilowatt hour total capacity, with 28 kilowatt hours reserved for the vehicle to use. So the manufacturers keep a little bit top and bottom that you can't access, just to extend the life of the pack, so the battery never gets too stressed. But yeah, clearly we've still got that same capacity. And obviously on these, the BMS was reporting it's 100% state of health. And while this test wasn't the full range of the battery, this car's being driven every day, and we just haven't seen any loss. And it just goes to show that, battery degradation, if there was any, it's not noticeable. So yeah, finally, I just want to talk about range. So this car, we're in the winter, and we can see here it's only 3 degrees at the moment. And yeah, we drove this yesterday for 4 hours, and the car can drive further than we can. In that time, we did visit a couple of shops, but we ended up using the loo, we stopped at places that had cafes so we could use the toilet, and we did that twice. Yet the car didn't need to stop and recharge. And one of the places we went to was a garden centre that had 6 AC chargers there, all free, but we didn't plug in and use them because I was doing this range test, and obviously we didn't want to do that. But that's the point, is a lot of people would say, well, 126 miles, that's not good enough for me. And true, for some people it wouldn't be, but if you can charge at home overnight, then that does the majority of people's daily driving. Mel drives half an hour to work every day, and I can honestly say in the, what has it been, 1.5 years or so she's been driving this car, she has only DC rapid charged this car twice, and that was when she took the kids away on holiday with her parents, and she charged the car once going down to the south coast and once on the way back after a long weekend away. And in all that time, that's the only time she's rapid charged. And that's the thing with these cars. People, if you're a typical UK driver, you do 26 miles a day. Obviously, some people do less and some people do more. But this car will comfortably do all our day-to-day driving, not just 95% of it, 100% of it. And when I was driving this car, I was doing much longer trips. I would frequently go to London and further afield. But when you want to stop and charge, typically it was a 15-20 minute charge. And as always, the car could drive further than I could. So I was having, when you're driving for hours, you need to stop and use the toilet. So that's when I charged. And I don't think there was ever a time where, there was never a time when I've run out, and never have run out of electricity in an electric car after 6 years of driving them. But yeah, I don't think that when I was driving this, there was ever a time where I even was worried about it or got a close shave. And I don't think there was ever a time when I actually even had to go off and charge the car where I didn't want to stop and use the loo or stop and eat. And most of the time, typically when I'm doing a run to London, I would often stop at Beaconsfield Services on the bottom of the M40 near the M25. And even if I was doing that trip in a diesel vehicle, which I used to do that trip previously in petrol and diesel vehicles, I would always still stop there anyway. So even driving an electric vehicle, even an electric vehicle with a small battery, my driving patterns haven't changed at all. So range on this, as you can see, 126 miles in the winter. That's with the heating on, and driving in pretty bad weather yesterday. Lots of flooding on the roads. But yeah, we typically see 120 to 130 miles in the winter, and in the summer 150 to 160 miles, something like that. So it does all our day-to-day driving, and without any problem at all. And Mel drives half an hour to work in the morning, half an hour back at night, and then she's often taking her daughters off places in the evening as well, and it does all of that without any problems. And then charging overnight, and actually she doesn't even charge every single night, she just charges it when she's using it the next day. And I'd also say we don't really try to look after the battery pack. It gets charged to 100% every time it gets charged. And obviously we haven't owned this car all its life and haven't done all of this 90,000 miles, well 89,000 miles. But yeah, we don't make an effort to look after the battery. The only things we don't do with it is if Mel, because she only works 4 days a week, on the day she's not going to work, she doesn't charge the car the night before unless she wants to use it that day. So it will have a rest 1 day a week, and often a rest on 1 day at the weekends. But apart from that, it gets charged 100% every night, and generally gets used every day. And on days where there might be more requirement for it in the evening, then occasionally, not very often, but occasionally it will get a top up. When she comes home from work, you can just plug it in, and on this it will do, you will gain you're going to gain something like, so I had to just use my calculator on my phone there because I couldn't do the maths in my head. So when you're plugging in on a 7 kilowatt wall charger at home, for an hour of charging, you're going to add about 30 to 38 miles of range. So I think that's it for this video. I hope that addresses the problems people had with the previous video where I showed another one of these cars the same age at 92,000 miles and just showed the BMS at 100% on the scanner, 100% state of health. So obviously this one is the same, but after doing a bit of driving and a recharge, just shows that we're still getting the 28 kilowatt hours back into the pack, and there is absolutely no noticeable battery degradation or range loss after 5 years and 89,000 miles. Oh, and one more thing I'll add. There'll be a lot of people who will say 150 mile range, that's hopeless. I won't consider an EV until it can do 400 miles. Well, that's fine, but most of us don't do that sort of range, that sort of mileage in a day. The majority of people will do around the 25 miles a day, and we don't have to make electric vehicles replicate what petrol or diesel vehicles do, because most people fill up a diesel vehicle and then drive around with 2 or 3 weeks worth of fuel on board. But we don't need to do that with electric vehicles. And the other thing to bear in mind is this is an older electric vehicle. It's a generation 1 with a 28 kilowatt hour pack. Of course, newer cars have got bigger batteries and also do longer range, but for the majority of people, even this will do majority of their driving without any form of public charging either. And the other point I want to make is these videos aren't about selling electric vehicles. It's true, I do sell electric cars, but on these videos I am not promoting the cars I am selling. This car is not for sale, and any videos I make on vehicles are for sale. The vehicle is sold before I put the videos up online. So it's not about promoting electric vehicles for my own gain. It's all about just educating people what primarily used electric vehicles are like, and also a lot about what vehicles are like when they get older. So yeah, that's it for now. Oh, one final thing. I know a lot of people comment about how dirty the cars are, but you know, this isn't a press car. I'm not trying to hide anything here. This is real world driving, real world experience, and hey, I live in the countryside, so cars get dirty, but yeah, I might have a go at cleaning this morning, but in reality around here this is going to get as dirty as that just within a couple of days. Thank you for watching the video. This channel gets small viewing numbers, so to get the video noticed in people's feeds, YouTube favours videos with what they term engagement, and that basically means comments. So please do comment on the video, do ask me questions, tell me what you want to see next. Also hit the little thumbs up button if you found the video useful or you liked it. Do subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button, and then press the bell to be notified when new videos get uploaded. Also have a look at the back catalogue of videos. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of videos on the channel already, and also use the search function to find videos that you might find interesting. Thank you very much.